With Wukong Black Myth seemingly breaking the internet, I thought it apt for me to have a chat with you about Wukong from the perspective of history, of course. Wukong was a character from Journey to the West, one of the four great Chinese classical novels, and usually is the first of the four to be read in sequence, followed by Water Margin, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and finally Dreams of the Red Chamber, which admittedly I myself have never read, the last one. I need not elaborate on the impact this work has had on the cultures of the Sinosphere, with countless works inspired by the adventures of Wukong and his band of misfits, too many for me to list here. But did you know that Wukong wasn't even the main character of the novel Journey to the West? Well, Wukong, along with Zhu Bajie, are the most memorable characters growing up due to their colourful personalities. The main character was supposed to be the master of this band of travellers, Tang San Zhang. And Tang San Zhang was himself based on a real character called Xuan Zhang, who lived during the Tang Dynasty, roughly 1,000 years before the novel was penned in 1592. Spurred by his dissatisfaction with the conflicting and piecemeal translated Mahayana scriptures available in China at the time, Xuan Zhang decided to take matters into his own hands to travel to the source of the learning itself, in spite of the general travel ban in place at his time. The Journey to the West novelized and fantasized the first part of this journey from modern-day Xi'an through the Taklamakan Desert, passing the Tian Shan into the Fergana Valley, then looping southeast into Bactria, finally crossing the Hindu Kush into India, or what Xuan Zhang referred to as Tianzhu. But if you were to read this word in Middle Chinese, which is what Xuan Zhang spoke, it would have sounded closer to Sindu. Xuan Zhang spent more than a decade travelling through India, meticulously recording details of countries, cultures, cities, and beliefs that he encountered. Perhaps serendipitously, Xuan Zhang's arrival in India, along with Yi Jing, who arrived some 30 years later, right at a time before Buddhism completely declined in India, which makes the work of Xuan Zhang and Yi Jing all the more vital to not only the spread of Mahayana Buddhism, but also the preservation of Mahayana scriptures into modern time. Xuan Zhang spent up to 2 years in Nalanda University. As a context, Nalanda is comparable to Oxford or Harvard University of our time, boasting some of the most influential scholars in not only religious but also philosophical studies. Famous alumni aside from Xuan Zhang and Yi Jing includes Dharmapala, Atisa, and most famous of them all, Nagarjuna, a 2nd century monk and philosopher whose work developed the concept of shunyata, or emptiness, which is central to the teaching of Mahayana Buddhism. Most people in East Asia would associate this concept with the famous phrase in the Heart Sutra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. 色不异空，空不异色. In fact, Wukong's name is a compound of two words, Wu as in comprehend, Kong as in emptiness, to comprehend the concept of emptiness. The Wukong in early parts of the novel was literally the physical embodiment of the human condition. Selfish, arrogant, violent, and unruly, possessing the mind and character of a typical monkey. And the growth of Wukong throughout the novel, eventually reaching Buddhahood, represents the moral of the story, to comprehend the impermanence of not only the physical world, but also that of mental creation, including the ideation of the self. All the rank and wealth, fame and merits, joy and sorrow, power and immortality are fleeting and impermanent. And the constant cravings for this impermanence is the source of one's cycle of mental dissatisfaction. This craving is seen not only in Wukong and Bajie, but almost all the spirits and demons that the travelling band encounter along the way seeks to satisfy their cravings of one sort or another. In the novel, Wukong eventually achieves Buddhahood by completing the journey and experiencing the inherent emptiness of all creation, both physical and mental. This is seen in the opening scene of Wukong Black Myth, standing off against the army of Shen. The Monkey King seems no longer interested in fame, rank, power, or immortality, seeking only to live out his immortal life as a hermit in seclusion. But true to all epic stories, the reluctant hero seeks no trouble, but trouble finds him nonetheless.